Merry meet and welcome. Welcome to the realms of mysticism, the occult, and magic, where your possibilities are only limited by your imagination. Welcome to the Witch's Cauldron and discover the knowledge you seek. Gather round the cauldron and even stay for a spell. Brightest blessings to you. Merry meet and welcome to the Witch's Cauldron. My name's Paula. Today's video is going to be on the solar eclipse in Sagittarius that will be occurring depending on your location, either very late in the day on December 3rd or on December 4th. Now, if you remember, eclipse season started off with the lunar eclipse in Taurus that occurred on November 19th. What I'm going to do in this video is to explain the various astrological influences that will be in play through about the middle part of December. And then I will highlight how these influences can affect your magical practice to help you boost or really focus your rituals for maximum impact. Now, on December 1st, I am recording this on the 2nd, Neptune moved stationary direct at 20 degrees 24 minutes of Pisces. And remember, when a planet moves stationary direct, its influences are magnified for several days. And in the 3D world, Neptune has influence on anything that has to do with water, liquids, pollution, toxicity, oil and petroleum, leaks, and I mean like not just water leaks, plumbing, but also leaks of information, the media, illusions, delusions, hypnosis, and also drugs and pharmaceutical products. And that's some of the, the more kind of like negative influences that Neptune can have. On the positive side, Neptune can spark creativity, really jumpstart your imagination, and give you that longing for a spiritual connection to Source, whatever your spiritual practice may be. It also puts an influence on unconditional love, and that can be for others, for humanity in kind, or the hard part, giving yourself unconditional love, because we tend to really be hard on ourselves when we would normally give someone else a pass on something. This time of Neptune stationary direct will give us just a hint of what's going to come next year on April the 12th, when Jupiter and Neptune are conjunct. This can have a focused effect in the United States, since transiting Neptune is opposing U.S. natal Neptune that was at 22 degrees of Virgo in 1776. Now, if you want to delve into my U.S. Pluto return, I'll link the video in the description box and you can find out more about that. And as we get closer to that conjunction, the effects will start heightening as we get closer. Now, on January the 18th, looking forward just a little bit, Uranus will move direct. So with the exception of Uranus, right now, all planets are currently direct, with the exception of Uranus, okay? Venus will begin retrograde on December the 19th. That will be in another video that will cover the last half of December. And this is a very, very different energy than what we've had for the past several months, because if you recall, the outer planets, the 6 outer planets at one time were in retrograde. So this, having them be direct or going direct in the very near future, it gives us momentum, and things will begin to unfold very rapidly. And it may feel like you're almost being a punching bag for the universe, because you're going to just get pelted with energies and information and things coming out. The total solar eclipse in Sagittarius occurs on December 3rd at 11:42 p.m. Pacific US, 2:42 a.m. Eastern in the US, and 7:42 a.m. December 4th in the UK. Okay, so that's why I said this eclipse either happens on very late in the day on the 3rd or earlier in the day on the 4th, depending on your location. And it will occur at 12 degrees 11 minutes of Sagittarius. Totality will only be able to be seen in Antarctica, okay? But the partial eclipse will be visible in some parts of Australia, New Zealand, a small part of South America, and a small part of South Africa. So you may want to check and see where 12 degrees 21 minutes of Sagittarius falls in your natal chart, because this part of your life will be more profoundly affected during this period of time. And remember that eclipse energy starts, ramping up about a month beforehand and can have lasting effects for 6 months afterwards. This will be a very short eclipse. It will only last about 2 minutes, okay? I think that this eclipse energy will have a great influence in the U.S. because it will be within 1 minute of exactitude with the U.S. natal ascendant. That is at 12 degrees 22 minutes of Sagittarius. And remember that, a country's or a person's ascendant is about identity and how you present yourself to the world, okay? And how a country presents itself to the world. Pluto is returning to its natal place in the U.S. Natal chart, okay? And it will have the Pluto return will have a profound influence in the U.S., especially through 2023 into the very first part of 2024. This kind of energy, Pluto energy coming back, is about rebirth or redefinition, okay? And this will be the case for the U.S. through the first part of 2024. It will have influences on areas like government or governance and politics, the economy, currency, states' rights, and possible geographical changes to the U.S. itself. In other words, some states may put through secession to separate themselves from the Union or from the Republic. Remember that the U.S. declared its independence from the mother country, England, in 1776. That's the natal place. That's where Pluto was when the Declaration of Independence was signed. And this can happen again if states break off from what is now defined as the U.S., okay? Because that Pluto energy is coming back into play and coming back to reside in its natal place. Eclipses, in general, give you an opportunity to set new intentions, to manifest, and create a new life for yourself. on a larger scale, it gives an opportunity to manifest new earth and an ascendancy of the collective. So this is going to be the perfect time to kind of redefine yourself, assess, what no longer serves you, where your passions lie, and embrace a new version of you and what role you will play in this new earth, in the ascendancy of the collective. Now, from, like a technical or scientific point, when eclipses occur, the moon must be very close to either the north node or the south node. The north node in astrology represents the future, not only yourself, but for the collective, the future of the collective, the destiny. The south node is our past, our collective past. Now, the lunar eclipse on November 19th was at the north node and was about bringing in the new, okay? This solar eclipse is conjunct the south node because it's in Sagittarius. This energy encourages you to shed the old, make way for the new, and learn lessons from the past with particular attention to your belief systems. This energy supports moving toward new ways of thinking, to new systems that support freedom, truth, a higher consciousness, and wisdom gained by the collective. The U.S. is not going to be the only, place that is highlighted during this time. This eclipse will be occurring very near the UK's ascendant. So it will be very important to the UK as well. The alignment will be quincunx Uranus at 11 degrees 38 minutes of Taurus. This is about freedom, truth, the future, the higher mind, and even bursts of electromagnetic energy are associated with the influences of Uranus. Mars will be at 23 degrees 40 minutes of Scorpio in a tight quincunx to Eris. That is at 23 degrees 48 minutes of Eris, which is within 8 minutes of exactitude. Mars and Eris are both warrior energies. Mars is the god of war in mythology, and Eris is his sister. Mars represents individuality, so a focus on individual freedoms is highlighted. Eris is the one who fights for those who have been marginalized or who do not have a voice. So human rights and personal freedoms are also highlighted during this eclipse. Jupiter will be sextile to Eris, which is new social visions, networks, and even structures, new societal structures coming to light. Mars at 23 degrees of Scorpio is square Jupiter, which is at 23 degrees of Aquarius. And this is highlighting fighting for your beliefs, fighting for your belief system. The big caution here is to make sure that you know the facts, okay? Be sure to research both sides of an argument and give credence to multiple points of view. Learn to differentiate between misinformation and disinformation and outright lies. With Neptune being in the mix, that tells you that things may not be as they seem, okay? Don't just take what mainstream media, a lot of media sources put out, because they may not be representing the entire picture. We've all seen video clips where you can edit just a, couple second sound bite that sounds absolutely horrific when presented on its own, but when you put it in the greater context of, say, a 2 minute, you know, talk or opinion about something, taking that 10-second soundbite and putting a spin on it to make it come off in a negative manner, when in actuality what was said was completely different. And it's just how it's presented, how numbers are presented, how words are presented, how sound bites are clipped from a larger cut. So I caution you to be smart and do your own research, and don't just listen to the same things that are being said on multiple different media sources. Actually do some hardcore research on your own. Another alignment that plays into this is that Black Moon Lilith is at 14 degrees of Gemini and is in opposition of the eclipse. And Black Moon Lilith is another influence for uncovering or making the truth known. She is a truth bringer, okay? Mercury will be square Neptune, and this is a time to undertake creative endeavors and to let your imagination just kind of manifest, okay? Neptune also influences your dreams. So I'm going to encourage you to keep a dream journal, because often our dreams are guidance from our higher self, from the collective, or from your guides and guardians, okay, to help put you on the right path, or to make, course corrections that are kind of minor in nature. The combination of Sagittarius, where the Sun, Moon, and Mercury will be, and Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius put a focus on freedom and truth. But it can be very multi-layered. And Neptune always has the potential for deception, lies, or a blurring of the truth. That's what I was just talking about, about how you paint that picture. You can all have the same numbers, but you can put 3 different spins on it very easily, depending on how you want to influence, okay? And remember that transiting Neptune is opposing Neptune in the U.S. natal chart, okay? So there can be more light shown on deception, lies, and outright, blurring of the truth by governments, by officials, and things of that nature, okay? Another thing to remember is that Neptune is connected to television, film, Hollywood, illusion, and hypnosis. So be aware of those facts. Like I said, don't believe everything that is being spewed on social media, especially when you need to do your own research to get to what is the truth. And that's spin on either side of an argument, okay? I'm not portraying one versus the other, good versus bad, anything like that. My caution is that you do your due diligence to get to the root of an issue and to uncover the truth before you go off spewing a bunch of stuff that might be misinformation or disinformation that's been planted. Another thing that comes into play is that Venus is conjunct Pluto at 22 and 25 degrees of Capricorn. When Venus moves retrograde on the 19th, it will come exactly conjunct Pluto on the 25th of December, okay, on Christmas Day. That conjunction will repeat on March 3rd next year. Capricorn is linked to governments, big banking, big business, and organizations that have an influence or control our world. Pluto is connected to debt, default, and taxes. Venus in this sign emphasizes money and banking, and retrograde motion historically links to changes in central bank policies. Retrograde Venus is also connected with a radical review of our values. Okay, that's Taurus and Venus, and helping us figure out what is really important to us and what we want to invest in, not only from a financial standpoint of our money, but also what do we want to invest in emotionally, our time, our attention. So we may see major changes in financial systems, and there could be more of a move toward crypto and blockchain technologies. In like interpersonal relationships, some of us may find that old flames come back into our lives from out of nowhere, especially if Venus in your natal chart falls in your 5th or your 7th house. Okay? The hard aspects between Venus and Pluto can bring about intense, extreme, almost excessive emotion if the conjunction falls in your 5th or 7th house. Another thing you may want to do is check and see where Capricorn falls in your chart, because this area has been activated since last year with Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, and then still Pluto and Venus now coming into the picture. Pluto will be activating the last 5 degrees of Capricorn until the first part of 2024, and this can show immense change in areas that Capricorn represents in our world. But it's also a shift from external authorities to inner authority. When eclipses occur, there's always a jump, a leap, something unexpected that may occur to help us on our soul growth, okay? It can be very positive if Capricorn involves your sun or ascendant. The total solar eclipse path goes over Antarctica, and it lasts for just under 2 minutes. And as I said, it's going to be partially visible over the southern tips of South America, South Africa, Australia, and a little bit of New Zealand. If we take a look at this eclipse through the astrocartography, or its track, its influence, however you want to look, there is an association running up through California and the western U.S. and up into the western part of Canada. It's conjunct the ascendant across most of Western Europe to include Spain, Portugal, and France, and also the Netherlands and Scandinavia. It is conjunct the midheaven, which represents the government and leadership running down through Iran and India. Mars at the eclipse is conjunct the midheaven of Saudi Arabia and the ascendant of China, and Mars representing assertion and aggression. Some of these areas that I have mentioned may come into the news around this time because, remember, it's not just the energy effect in that day. There may be highlighted energies in these areas with assertion and aggression for another 6 months afterwards. getting us past the eclipse, on the 7th, Mars becomes square Jupiter at 26 degrees Scorpio to Jupiter's 26 degrees of Aquarius. And this can make you want your reactions about an issue to go over the top, to make you just absolutely lose your cool and go to the streets in protest. And the symbolism is about fighting for your beliefs and being assertive. But the shadow side of Sagittarius is that you can be very quick to judgment, have very inflexible opinions, and not being open to hearing the other side. That's why I gave you that caution earlier, to see multiple points of view, to try and understand where someone else is coming from before you lash out and just go in hammer and tongs on somebody, okay? The moon will also be square Uranus on the 7th of December, and that's another increase to the urge of the people to rise up against whatever they feel is oppressing them. Now, on December 11th, Venus will be exactly conjunct Pluto at 25 degrees Capricorn. And this is really going to add another little bit of fuel to the fire, okay? On the 13th, Mars will enter Sagittarius. That's, a little bit more optimistic by Scorpio, but it's also, Sagittarius is also a crusade for truth, justice, and freedom. So you may feel like you're completely hopeless, okay, in certain situations that can be evolving. But remember that the Mars energy is always there to try and give you a little boost of hope. Try and see all sides of an argument in what manifests in the 3D world before you go off the edge about something. By the 15th of December, Mars will join the South Node at 1 degree of Sagittarius, and this can make things get aggressive, okay? Now, I'm going to throw something out there. We had this aspect on 9/11. Mars has about a 2-year orbit, so we don't see events of that magnitude evolve every couple of years. Just be aware that aggressive energies are going to be high. Mars will be, opposes the moon the next day, suggesting that angry people, people in general can be angry. And the sun will also be in a semi-square to Saturn, suggesting that anger will be checked by the powers that be, at least on a temporary basis. So there could be like angry protests that are quickly shut down by a government, but that's just going to make things simmer under the surface. Now, in general, the influences in play for the first part of December, it's all about finding the truth, personal freedoms, information, disinformation, uncovering the truth, and feeling the need to stand up for your personal freedoms, stand up for your beliefs, whatever they may be. I just do caution you to try and maintain a level head and try to see other points of view. Don't always trust the information that is, put out in front of you, because things can be skewed to fit any narrative. So I encourage you to do your own research on whatever situation you may find that is causing a heightened reaction from yourself. As far as magical practitioners, remember there is a lot of anger, frustration, the need to find the truth. So people who have abilities can engage in doing some, dream work, doing shadow work, doing astral travel to try and seek out the truth to help their soul ascend, to a higher level. As a magical practitioner, it can also be a great time to do divination, to find out where you should focus your energies to manifest what you want to bring about. It can also be a great time, especially for magical practitioners, to do rituals involving healing of humanity, bringing about a new way of thinking, a new earth, and about healing our environment and thinking of ways to bring the collective together rather than encourage the fight. Okay. With that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing and consider becoming a member of the Cauldron Coven. And with that, my friends, as I always say, merry we did meet, merry we will part until we merry meet again. Be well and walk in love and light, everybody. Bye.